Get that knife ear wench off the plane!
Señor, cállese que hay niños en el avión.
Knife ear! Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hall of the Mountain King. I am the Mountain King, your host. Today we're going to continue our multi-part adventure on how to fix Dark and Darker system by system, piece by piece. And today we're going to tackle the most important rework that we've done yet, the fighter rework. Oh shit, I did the whole thing with the Burger King thing, the Burger King crown on. If you're just here for the new abilities, passives, and spells for the fighter, just go ahead and click the timestamp I left for you down below. But this is going to be pretty interesting, so I highly recommend you stick around until then. I also want to give a big thank you to Taco for helping with the thumbnail. Come here, little buddy. Come here, buddy. Probably avoiding. Oh, yeah. Oh, Mr. Kitty. Good kitty. All right. The question you probably have is, why is this the most important rework so far? The fact of the matter is, the fighter is the anchor point. He's the reference point. He's the class that defines the game's baseline fantasy. The fighter is the most important class to get its fantasy right because he is the baseline by which other classes are compared for how well their own class fantasy is explored. And across tabletop, live action, and video game role-playing games, that class is never optional, it is foundational. And in a unique case, when the fighter doesn't match his class fantasy, everything else about the game suffers. New players feel weaker, itemization feels flatter, weapons feel interchangeable, and armor feels cosmetic. And in the case of Dark and Darker, perks feel like they carry way too much weight to make the class actually deliver what he's supposed to deliver. The question then becomes, what is the fighter class fantasy? Well, if you've played any number of role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons or Dark and Darker or LARPed or anything like that, someone has probably told you that the fighter is boring. And yes, if you were to compare classes to what kind of clothes you put on in the morning, if you're putting on a business suit for a rogue, if you're putting on a priest's robes for a cleric, if you're putting on a professor's gown for a wizard, or if you're just putting on like regular jeans and a t-shirt for the fighter, yes, you might seem boring, and yes, you might not seem as interesting, but as we have probably all found out as adults, it is not the clothes that you wear, it is the person that is wearing the clothes. That's really the fantasy of the fighter, you know. In the face of everything dangerous in this fantasy world, you yourself are able to confront all of that through your own combat ability. And that's the root of this rework, that the fighter in Dark and Darker right now hints at this fantasy pretty well, I think. But it just doesn't fully commit. So I want to find a way to bring us closer to that very personal, because it is very personal. The fighter class fantasy is extremely personal because it is you. It is you without the help of some kind of demon patron, without the powers of a god, without magical ability, or without the powers of nature backing you up, or any number of things, right? It's just you against this very dangerous, very scary world. That's what I'm trying to put into the fighter with this rework, and I hope you enjoy that. So what's the fighter get right in Dark and Darker right now? Like I said, he touches a little bit on that class fantasy, but he doesn't fully commit to it. So here's what he gets right, and there's a lot of good points. He can wear the heaviest armor, as would be expected. He can use nearly every weapon. He has flexible abilities which do focus entirely on that martial aspect of the class. And he has passive abilities that hint at the kind of versatility that we're looking for, like Slayer, for instance, being the contrast to the heavily armored knight, which takes away your ability to wear plate armor, but makes you more of like that slasher, that one-on-one, toe-to-toe melee berserker kind of thing. And it's that comment about the Slayer passive which actually leads me to my negatives about the class design for the fighter, in that your identity as a fighter is buried behind too many passives. When you make a fighter in Dark and Darker, the screen will tell you that something about the fighter is that it is gear dependent, which is true. But unfortunately, that fact doesn't exactly translate in the class's design or the way it works. You can use the majority of armors, the majority of weapons, but that doesn't define your playstyle or exactly how it feels being a fighter. In addition to that, you're really just stat dependent, and a lot of stat rolls don't feel good because 43% of the game's base stats don't apply to you. Those being resourcefulness, willpower, and knowledge. Those don't apply. And you don't get a lot of benefit out of them outside of resourcefulness and how it affects how quickly your cooldowns come back. But otherwise, you have a whole lot of stats that don't do anything for you, and it doesn't feel good to have this class, which is supposed to be so versatile in every way, and have stats that don't benefit you in any way whatsoever. And so the goal to fix the fighter is clear. You need to move the identity of the class away from perks and into the equipment that he uses. Have perks, absolutely. Have small bonuses that you can like tweak yourself to go in whatever direction you want to go, whether you want to be the plate-wearing knight or the leather-wearing adventurer. That's all good, but your gear should define how you play and what your playstyle is more than what your perk setup is. We want to avoid metas. We want to create more identity in the class that really is supposed to be about identity, about being yourself in the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these little hints of identity that the fighter has and turn them into a mechanism to turn the phrase gear dependent from generally accepted as negative into a positive. And with that, I'm excited to share the new mechanic for the fighter, which is Martial Mastery. Martial Mastery. I will probably put it up there. Martial Mastery. What Martial Mastery means is the fighter's power comes from mastery of arms and armor, not from the perk stacking, gimmicks, or stat RNG on his gear. Every piece of armor and every weapon changes the way that you fight, and I take that very literally. You'll see it in just a second. Your identity should come from what you wear and what you wield, not from whether or not you're using the right number of perks that everyone else is using every other meta, every other build video slop that you see online. What I'm hoping to do with this rework more than any other, for any other class, is to make Fighter the most flexible and most expressive out of all the other classes. To really hit home, and for you to feel satisfied with what gear you put on, and to, no pun intended, really give you that roguelike experience of, did I find plate? I'll slap on some plate, and I have a bonus from that. Did I find leather or cloth? I'll slap that on and I'll get a bonus from that. And feel like you're not totally gimped from every single piece that you find, that everything has a dead roll, or it has bad stats, or I don't want this. I want you to feel like you've actually gotten something useful from every little thing that you grab out of a chest. I would be remiss if I did not mention that with this new Martial Mastery system, the fighter is able to use every single type of weapon outside of spell focuses, such as staffs or books or crystal balls. All of this, most importantly, without making the class feel overpowered. I want to give a shout out to Louis the Dog 82 as well for keeping me accountable in the comments of the last video about the Warlock, about making sure I talk about what's important with each class. So, Louis, I'm still thinking about those demon form things for you. I've not quite gotten to everything that I'm willing to present you as a finished product. I'm going to put a couple of those things in the description for you, though, and hopefully we can have another interesting discussion in the comments. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you have to say this time. So what does Martial Mastery actually do? Well, it does pretty much what I've been saying this entire time, which is defining you based off of what you choose to wear and what you choose to wield. For every piece of a particular armor type that you wear, and for every weapon of a particular weapon type that you use, you get a flat bonus as well as a scaling bonus that scales based off of a stat that was previously barely useful or completely useless for a fighter. I'm hoping that with this, it'll give new identity and relevance to all of these dead stats and help the fighter feel a lot less inept when he gets something that's not totally meta, totally perfect for his build. What I'll do is I'll tell you every weapon type and every armor type, tell you what their flat bonus is as well as their scaling bonus, and I'll explain for flavor why I chose each dead stat to improve those scaling bonuses. For plate armor, I wanted to give a flat amount of vigor per piece, as well as a scaling amount of physical damage reduction that scales with how much resourcefulness you have. And the reason why I chose resourcefulness is because good armor is useless unless you know how to maintain it, move in it, and fit it properly. For each piece of leather equipment, I wanted to give you a flat amount of dexterity, as well as a scaling amount of swing recovery that scales with knowledge. Why did I pick knowledge? Because flexible technical combat relies on studied technique, timing, spacing, and finesse. I want cloth armor to give a flat amount of damage reduction per piece, as well as a scaling amount of movement speed that scales with will. I chose will because, at least in a lot of fantasy circles, cloth can protect the soul. With armor out of the way, we'll move on to weapons. Something important about the weapons is the bonus will be based off of how many hands are dedicated to each weapon. So if you have one axe and one sword, you will get one instance of the bonus for swords and one instance of the bonus for axes. But if you have, for example, a two-handed sword like a longsword, you will get 2 instances of the buff for sword weapons. Or if you have a felling axe, you will have 2 instances of the buff for axes. All right, Mr. Kitty. Mr. Kitty. Starting with swords, for each sword that you are holding, or for each hand dedicated to a sword, you will get +1 weapon damage and +1 action speed, which scales with knowledge. And the reason is very blunt. I studied the blade. I think everyone saw that one coming. For axes, for each axe that you have in your hands, you'll get +1 impact power and plus a certain amount of swing speed that scales with your will. And the reason I chose will is because will reflects commitment, ferocity. You choose the swing, not instinct. For blunt weapons such as maces or hammers or even a quarterstaff, you'll get a flat amount of movement speed when you have the weapon equipped, and you'll also get a scaling amount of movement speed while swinging the weapon. So you won't get slowed down as much when you're swinging it. The reason I chose will is because with heavy weapons like that, momentum is a mental game. For pole arms such as bardishes, halberds, or spears, you'll get a flat amount of additional reach on the weapon, and a scaling amount of armor penetration based off of knowledge. And the reason I chose knowledge is because range control is a technical skill. Like keeping someone at bay, you have to have the knowledge of tactics to do that. For daggers, such as the Castellan or the Stiletto, it's actually a callback to my Rogue rework, which I'll show on screen or give a link to, where I talk about a new system that I thought of called Deflection, which gives you a way to survive and mitigate damage in close quarters combat if you're a more faster attacking class, or if you're just using one weapon in a free hand so you're able to block. Each dagger that you have equipped will give you an additional amount of deflection per hit, as well as an additional amount of action speed, which scales with resourcefulness. I chose resourcefulness because precision and technique is more important than brute force when it comes to finesse weapons like dagger. For shields, such as heaters and bucklers in one hand or pavis in 2 hands, you'll get a flat percentage amount of max health, and you'll get a scaling amount of counterattack damage, which scales with your willpower. I chose willpower because a shield is willpower manifest. For bows, all bows are two-handed, so on principle, they'll only get 1 instance of this buff, which is for each type of bow, you'll get +1 additional max arrows, and you'll get a scaling amount of arrow draw speed, which scales with knowledge because of how intricate and how serious and how difficult it is to learn bow and arrow. It's a very difficult skill. It's very impressive when people are good at it, so having knowledge just made sense for me. Crossbows, on the other hand, as a ranged weapon, can be both one-handed and two-handed. So for each instance of the crossbow buff, you'll get an additional percentage reload speed and a scaling amount of projectile speed based off of resourcefulness. And I chose resourcefulness because crossbows are a more technical, more mechanical thing. So you have to know how to load it and how to access the mechanism and use the mechanism of the crossbow. That makes more sense with resourcefulness than with knowledge by technicality. And as far as thrown weapons and guns go, guns don't need a bonus. They already suck, and the gun sucks, and it's never, I don't think, going to be outside of a meme build. I just don't see that happening. And Francesca axes and throwing knives don't need any kind of bonus because they're already super annoying and super compact, and they fit in the utility slot. So they don't need any kind of bonus. So that's martial mastery. Give the fighter his identity not through his perks or his abilities, but through what armor he equips and what weapons he wields. I think this will make the fighter a little bit more flexible and will give you more chances to really feel the identity personally, but also be able to express your combat style and be able to adjust to whatever meta is going on right now, whatever ridiculous meta it is. And I'm excited to see it. Some of the bonuses might be overkill. This is more form than function, and the math can be messed with later, like whether or not this will scale so much with this or scale so much with that. But also as a contingency, in my mind, I feel like the perks and abilities could be nerfed in order to account for this different avenue of power. And because martial mastery moves the core identity of the class from perks and abilities into gear, what it does is it helps you specialize your chosen kit. It deepens your mastery of a specific type of fighting, and it allows the perks to enhance your playstyle without fully dominating its identity. In addition, I'm really excited to share with you guys a new ability that I thought of for the fighter, which is a direct callback to my first class rework for the wizard, which is called Spellblade. And what Spellblade is, it's a unique 3-slot spell memory for the fighter, which allows you to use a certain number of cantrips from the wizard rework that I did. So something as benign as like a flash of light to quickly illuminate an area, or a single firebolt, or something really, really weak. The point is to really throttle an ability to use spells for the fighter. He's already super strong martially. You can't have him be super strong with ranged weapons as well as magic, but I think if you properly throttle it, it'll give just enough flavor to be like, hey, I'm going to be a knight fighter, or I'm going to be a spellblade. I'll have a sword and I'll be able to cast spells out of my hand. You won't be able to use spell books or crystal balls to cast anything, to avoid any of those additional bonuses like with Cyclops Eye. I just think it's a really fresh concept that could make the fighter interesting. In addition, it also allows you to redefine a lot of the abilities and perks of the class in order to not be so much of a linchpin on your build. Second Wind and Sprint, for instance, come to mind, where Sprint and Second Wind have for a long time been the only choice for playing your class, for most builds. Adrenaline Rush has become a little bit more used lately because you can have double Sprint, essentially, but it's always been Sprint and Second Wind. So this gives us a chance to reimagine them. For instance, I've been playing with the idea of making Second Wind into a perk instead of an ability, and I've been playing with the idea of moving some of the other abilities and perks around. I'll show those on screen right now. Examples include a new grappling perk I thought of, which allows you to slow people down with melee, because we don't really have that melee class yet in the monk, but this gives us a chance to kind of explore that. And it also gives us a chance to reimagine some of the weapon-based perks, such as sword mastery or shield mastery, and I'll give some examples of additional masteries I think I would like to add, which help deepen that identity of your chosen build. And I just want to do my very best to free the fighter from any kind of dependency on abilities or perks when he's already played that way for so long, and this martial mastery gives him a chance to really step out of that and become more personalized to whoever's playing the fighter. So that's about it for the fighter rework and martial mastery and Spellblade and everything else. I hope you enjoy this. I had a lot of fun putting it together. I really hope that this new system will give the fighter a way to, when playing the fighter, for you, the human playing Dark and Darker behind the screen, to really feel like it's you inside the dungeon, that the choices of what you wield and what you equip really reflect on your playstyle and help you become the dungeon delver that you were always meant to be. Thanks for staying to the end. Here's your Dwarven Wisdom. So, thank you for waiting. I know it's been a little bit. I took about, let's just call it 2 months to make another video. Like I told you in the Warlock rework, I was going to go to the Elven Woods down south, and I had a really good time. I intend to post some pictures at some point. We got back late October, and then work started to pile up, and then just Arc Raiders came out, and that's I'm gonna get to that in a second. And I've just been kind of just exploring other things. I'm really dedicated to making Dark and Darker a better game. That's why I built this channel in the first place. I have, to the detriment of my own enjoyment of video games, been doing everything I can to educate myself on various systems, to educate myself on why certain systems are in place, to get consultation from very, very intelligent people like Wrath of Koopa in order to understand where the failings are in Dark and Darker and where things can be better and what would make it a better game. To that effect, I've actually been diving really deep into the systems of a game called Mordheim, both the tabletop as well as the video game adaptation in Mordheim City of the Damned. It should be really cheap on Steam right now. I recommend you pick it up if you like strategy games. I've been looking into how to make the best possible recommendations and systems for these videos to hopefully get the attention of development for Dark and Darker and make the game the best version of itself. Make it fun. Make it as fun as it possibly could be. Man. But SDF will not get rid of that circle, will he? No, he will not. We know that people don't like it. We'll wait a little bit longer. Maybe we'll get rid of it later. You know, like it's... Circle. That is how he speaks. Oh, man. So... Like what I said about Arc Raiders, that game is a hell of a lot of fun. I have really been enjoying myself. I've been actually enjoying myself with video games by playing Arc Raiders with my friends, not banging my head against the wall, playing Dark and Darker, or thinking about Dark and Darker, or conceptualizing things about Dark and Darker in order to make these videos and offer ideas to make Dark and Darker the best possible game it could be. I've been really enjoying that. I've been seeing a lot of people move over to that. Seriously Soapy, I've seen him playing a lot. I've seen his shorts. I know the Prophet Jabib, big boy. He's TikTok famous. He's doing a trivia show or something. He's having a lot of fun. Even people I really respect, like Guild Leader, for instance, are trying out different games because of where we're at right now. I know we're in a mid-season lull for Dark and Darker, where the population goes down a little bit. There's always that big pump right at the beginning of the season, and the water map is passable. It is passable. I definitely was coping super hard with it. Like, yeah, it'll save the game and everything, and I still think it has the bones to do it. But man, I would be remiss if I did not tell you that the water map is definitely not to my expectations. Yes, everybody. I know that water combat sucks. It is not the most pleasant thing. I've seen some ideas for remixing the map to make it more land and in the middle and more sea on the outside. For all of its failings, though, it is beautiful. The art team never fails to impress. The sound design team never fails to impress. It's a great display of the ability of the art team and art direction of the game. But as far as like being a really serviceable map, not so much. As a lot of you know, and I definitely do, the ruins map, rather, the crypts, where it all started and what really made us fall in love with this in the first place, this is supposed to be a dungeon crawler. At least that is what I thought it was going to be at the beginning. I've noticed, I think the biggest disconnect is between what players, especially the old guard that held the line back then, what we thought this game was going to be versus what SDF wants it to be. There's a massive disconnect between finally, and dominating the market, by the way, on a first-person Dungeons and Dragons with a little bit of an extraction aspect to it. Why would you make another Battle Royale? Why would you do that? It's so dumb. It is so without reason. It is so disappointing that the circle, in SDF's own words, is supposed to corral people into doing more PvP, which, sure, but it doesn't need to be super hardcore PvP like that. You don't need to force PvP like that. There is room, as I've learned from Arc Raiders, there is a lot of room for spontaneous PvP or spontaneous peace. I would respectfully offer that the PvE could be a lot harder in Dark and Darker. I have been very meticulously looking at the differences between Dark and Darker and Arc Raiders, and when you really crank up the AI to be like a substantial threat, it does a whole lot for your interpretation of the environment around you and for the spontaneity of your environment and the spontaneity of your reactions between you and other players if you're solo, or your team and other teams if you're in like a duo or a trio. I think and I'm not like some kind of guy saying that PvE is the answer to everything. What I'm saying is PvE needs to be a lot more robust. I'm certain that there are models and animations that Iron Mace can just buy off the Unity store like everything else. I'm certain that they could find something for like skeletons crawling through windows or skeletons like purposely breaking doors down. I'm sure they could find something like that. Or for zombies to wait for you to walk by and grab your foot and then come out of the ground. The fantasy environment is a lot more flexible than like made up sci-fi robots like in Arc Raiders. That is not to discount how impressive the AI is in Arc Raiders at all. What I'm saying is the number of options that you have in fantasy-based games like Dungeons and Dragons, for instance, is a lot more refined. It has many, many years of development for mythos and for monster profiles that you can just really do anything you want. The question is not a question of function. It's a question of form. It's not a question of function. It is a question of form. And what that means is Iron Mace lacks the creativity and imagination to make this game what it can be. They have definitely, to some degree, the technical ability to make things possible. I mean, if SDF is any... Oh, man, I can't even talk about that guy anymore. Oofda. They have the technical ability to make things possible, but I don't think they have, like, the thinking going on. I think they lack for imagination and perspective. I think that's what they need more than anything. So hopefully they find some of that soon, or this shit's going to die. In the meantime, the future of this channel. If this video does well, which I hope it will with like how much work I put into this thumbnail, because I busted my ass to make this thumbnail good. I really like playing with Blender. I'm starting to learn a whole lot about it, and I think I might want to get into some digital animation at some point. Like actually like learn about it, not just play with Blender. But if this video takes off, if this video does well enough, like 200 or 300 views, I'll keep making reworks because I have all the ideas already. I just have to take the time to film. If it doesn't though, and if Dark and Darker really is just gonna go off of a cliff, like the numbers are kind of projecting right now, everyone's talking about quitting it right now, even Urban Gent. And Todd, I don't know if Todd will ever quit. Toddy, I don't know if you'll ever quit, bud, but it's hard to hang on, isn't it? It's hard to hang on, everybody. I might move on to other stuff. There's plenty of dwarf-based games like Dwarf Fortress, and there's Bronzebeard Tavern, and there's Return to Moria, Lord of the Rings Return to Moria. That just got a new DLC. I might try that. And I'm thinking about expanding into streaming just so I can like get more FaceTime, get more interaction with the community, because I love reading comments. That's a kind of social bliss that I didn't ever think I needed or ever wanted. But I really enjoy reading your guys' comments and interacting with you and talking with you guys. So maybe streaming would be just like a way to actually just reach out and talk to more people, make some friends. Who knows? Yeah, but I'll put out a poll here after this video to see which class we want to move on next. I'm thinking Barbarian or Cleric right now, but Ranger is also in the works. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so here's the TLDR, and I'll probably put a TLDR timestamp here for this. I want to keep making reworks. Dark and Darker doesn't look like it's going to make any changes. It doesn't look like my recommended changes are going to actually be implemented at all. But nonetheless, I want to ride this horse until it's dead. If people are still interested in this, I'll keep making Dark and Darker stuff. If they're not, I'm probably going to move on to other games and maybe do Dark and Darker on the side later. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, even Yami, who took Dark and Darker out of his name, is still doing Dark and Darker. So I mean, there's hope for all of us, right? So yeah, that is it. That is a fighter rework. Thank you so much for staying. Thank you so much for watching. Like always, thank you for stopping by. Leave a like. Let me know what you thought. Comment. Consider subscribing. And we'll see you guys next time. Good luck out there in the dungeons. Good luck in the dark. I am the Mountain King, signing off. Well, this is going to be perfect. This is going to be fine. With the power of editing, all this is going to be great. With the power of editing, we're going to fix all of my mistakes.